8 horror stories that will keep you up all night. Story 1. The regret that haunts me.
Last summer, my friend Taro and I drove to a famous haunted spot deep in the mountains. We walked along a narrow forest trail and found a tiny shrine and some old gravestones. The eerie atmosphere was so intense that we didn't leave until after 2 a.m. From that day on, both of us started getting sick, kept having accidents, and everything in life just went wrong. At first, we joked, maybe we got cursed at that haunted place. But as the misfortunes piled up, the fear became real. One day, we were eating at a family restaurant when a middle-aged man approached us. He looked shocked and said,
"Why are those black shadows swirling around you?"
He saw something we couldn't, a dark mass clinging to us. After hearing our story, he handed us a business card and said,
"Go here. Don't worry about the money."
That weekend, we followed the address to a grand shrine, with a towering torii gate and endless stone steps. Huffing and puffing, we reached the top, and there he was. That same man. He was the head priest and had been expecting us. He rushed us into the main hall and started a purification ritual. The sound was beautiful, and by the end, we felt completely refreshed, like we had been reborn. Then the priest said,
"It's done, but from now on, stay away from dangerous places."
And he gave us 2 warnings. First,
Do not open your mouth on the way down. Evil spirits enter through the mouth.
second,
No matter what happens, do not look back. The spirit is trapped here, but if you turn around, it will follow you again.
we promised and started down the steps in silence. It was pitch dark. The air was heavy. Wind rustled the trees, and each time, I had to resist the urge to turn around. I regretted ever going to that haunted place. The torii gate was just 10 steps away when suddenly, the priest's voice yelled from behind us.
Stop! Don't go any further.
I heard him running after us, panicked and shouting. My heart dropped. Had we done something wrong? I almost turned around, but remembered his warning, never look back. I ran through the torii. Then I turned to stop Taro, but it was too late. He had already looked. His eyes were blank, mouth open in a strange smile, staring into the air. Then, like he was dancing, he slowly walked back up the stairs. The real priest came down shortly after. He looked at Taro, sighed, and said,
He'll stay here for now. You should go home.
He put a hand on Taro's shoulder and led him back toward the shrine. The next morning, I returned. Taro was wearing a shrine uniform, sweeping the grounds. I called out to him, but he didn't even recognize me. It's been 6 months. He's still there, and he never came back.
Story 2. This prank call turned into a nightmare.
This happened over 20 years ago. Back when I was a stressed-out high school student, my parents were pressuring me to get into med school, and I had no outlet. Late at night, I'd sneak out on my bike to clear my head. Eventually, I started making prank calls from public phone booths just for fun. Back then, phone books were still a thing. I'd flip to a random number, call, and stay silent until the person angrily hung up. Sometimes, I'd whisper creepy things like, "I'm downstairs," or "I'm so lonely. Will you stay with me?" If I got a scream or a panicked voice, it made my night. One night, I dialed a number, and a young woman picked up. In a low voice, I said, "Can you open the door for me?" She was silent for about 30 seconds, then quietly replied,
Okay.
Then she hung up. Weirded out, but curious, I called again. This time she just gave a soft, mocking laugh
Ha ha.
and hung up again. I called a third time and said, "I'm cold. Let me in." After a pause, she whispered,
I'll come find you.
click. That's when the chill hit me. I got on my bike, ready to bolt. But just as I was about to leave, I saw her. A girl in a white dress with long black hair stood outside the phone booth. Her back was to me. She wasn't moving, just staring into the booth, like she was watching something. Or someone. I told myself it was just a random passerby and quickly biked home. 2 months later, I was back at it again, midnight prank calls. After a few good scares, I was about to head home when, on a whim, I circled back to the same phone booth. She was there again, the same girl in white. But this time, her face was pressed against the phone booth glass, like she was hunting for something. Then, she saw me. I turned and pedaled as fast as I could. But she started walking, a slow, jerky walk that somehow kept pace with my bike. I finally lost her, got home, locked the door, and collapsed by the entrance, gasping for air. Then I noticed something. Through the frosted glass of my front door, a pale face was staring right at me. Since that night, I've never made another prank call again.
Story 3. Midnight Digging.
I've been waking up at 2 a.m. every night lately. There's always this strange sound coming from outside my window. It sounds like someone digging in the dirt. One night, I couldn't resist anymore. I lifted a corner of my curtain and peeked outside. And that's when I saw him. In the yard of the house across from mine, a tall, skinny man was digging a large hole with a round shovel. It was the third night in a row. What on earth was he digging? Digging in the middle of the night like that? Could he be trying to bury a body? As that thought flashed through my mind, the man suddenly disappeared from sight. Did he finally go get the body to bury? I instinctively raised my body a bit higher and pulled the curtain open wider to get a better look. That's when it hit me. A sharp jolt, like a wooden stake driven into my chest. The man was hiding inside the hole. Maybe he had crouched down, hidden in a blind spot of my vision. And that's why I hadn't seen him. Then he stood up, and his eyes locked directly onto mine. That long, gaunt face. Those wide, staring eyes. We made direct eye contact. I had been careless. I thought he hadn't noticed me watching. I quickly closed the curtain. But it was too late. He knew I had been watching. And at that moment, I realized something terrifying. He saw me. I didn't sleep at all that night. The sound of digging continued until 3 a.m., and then it stopped. Strangely, after that night, the noise never came back. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Even walking past that house gave me chills. I started going out of my way to avoid it. A few days later, the police rang my doorbell. They said they found 3 bodies buried in the yard of that very house across the street. I immediately told them I had seen the man digging, and I described his appearance and the clothes he was wearing that night. Their faces changed. One of the officers pulled out a photo and asked me to confirm. It was him. Exactly as I remembered. But then they gave me a strange look and said, "You probably saw this on the news. That man is already dead. He committed suicide with his wife and child." All 3 bodies were buried in the yard. I froze. No, I clearly saw him that night, digging. Alive. He even looked straight at me. The police told me what they were really trying to figure out was who buried the bodies. Ever since that day, I've been having nightmares. And worse, the sound has come back. I don't even need to look out the window now, because I already know. He's back.
Story 4. My husband's nightmare, or was it?
My husband and I have been married for over 20 years. Just the 2 of us living a quiet life. About a month ago, he started having strange dreams every single night. At least, he thought they were dreams. He could never be completely sure. But every time, it was the exact same scene. He'd tell me,
"In the middle of the night, I suddenly open my eyes, and there's someone floating near the ceiling, looking exactly like me, just staring down at me. Then it speaks. You've lived long enough these past decades. It's my turn now."
At first, I thought it was just an odd nightmare. but he began to look more and more uneasy. Every morning without fail, he'd say,
"Honey, I had that dream again."
This went on day after day, and I couldn't help but feel worried. Then, one morning, he woke up and simply said,
"Good morning."
I blinked. What's wrong? Did you have that dream again last night? He tilted his head slightly and said,
Dream? What dream?
Story 5. Whose story were you telling?
It happened last summer. A friend invited me to a mixer. 3 guys, 3 girls, all around our late 20s. The mood was great, and I actually took a liking to one of the girls. After a few drinks at the first bar, we decided to head to one of the guys' apartments for a second round. Around 1 a.m., someone suggested we take turns telling ghost stories. We lit a candle, turned off the lights, and when it was my turn, I decided to tell a true horror story I made up. I started with, "This happened when I was a kid." I told them that my friend Kentaro and I had once explored an abandoned house, where we saw a body hanging from the ceiling. After that day, Kentaro began to act strange, eventually falling apart. A few years later, he took his own life. Everyone was hooked. The room was dead silent. I thought to myself, nailed it. After we wrapped up around 3 a.m., I finally got the chance to walk that girl home. We got out of the cab near her place when she suddenly turned to me and said,
"There's something I want to ask you."
My heart skipped a beat. I thought it might be something romantic, but her tone was calm. Too calm.
That story you told? It wasn't true, was it?
I gave a little laugh and said, "Well, not entirely. I tweaked it a bit. Why do you ask?" In truth, most of it was fiction. Kentaro really did kill himself, but he wasn't my friend. He was a kid I used to bully. She looked straight at me, her eyes serious.
While you were telling your story, there was a guy standing behind you. Kind of chubby, glasses, curly hair. He looked furious and just kept repeating,
"Liar. You liar."
My blood ran cold. Everything she described, down to the curly hair and glasses, matched Kentaro exactly. But I'd never shown her a photo, never even mentioned his name before. She looked at me one last time and said,
"He's really angry. So you'd better not tell that story again."
Then she walked away, leaving me frozen on the side of the road. Since that night, nothing in my life has gone right. My health's been failing. Work's been a mess. I don't know if it's just bad luck or something else. But one thing's for sure. That story I told, maybe it wasn't mine to tell.
Story 6. The Phone Booth Woman.
About 20 years ago, back when phone booths still lined the streets, I was a broke college student living at home. One night before a long weekend, I got pretty drunk with my friends. After some late-night ramen, we called it a night. Since I didn't have my cell phone, I decided to walk home and call my family from a phone booth to let them know. The first booth I entered had a strong scent of perfume. The receiver was resting oddly on top of the phone, not hung up properly. When I picked it up, there was nothing but a flat electronic tone. I hung up, and 6 10-yen coins dropped from the machine. Score, I thought, and pocketed the coins. As I continued walking, I spotted another booth. Same perfume, same setup. I tried the phone, heard the tone, and again, coins came out. I kept the money. Then came a third booth, then a fourth, all the same. At the 5th booth, I saw her. A woman in a red dress was just walking away, smiling to herself. After she was gone, I stepped inside. As expected, the receiver was resting on the phone. I picked it up. This time, I heard a man shouting on the other end, his voice panicked.
"Kyoko, is that you? Stop this already. We can't sleep anymore."
I froze, then quickly hung up. Suddenly, a voice behind me whispered,
"Why'd you hang up? Don't get in my way."
I turned around, and there she was, the woman in red, smiling behind me.
"Don't get in my way, okay?"
Her face was beautiful, but in a way that didn't seem real. Not human. I bolted, ran like hell. I think I even threw up the ramen along the way. But I didn't stop. When I finally reached a spot where I could see my house, I took all the 10-yen coins from my pockets and threw them away. But the perfume wouldn't leave me. Even after several days of showers, I could still smell it on me. To this day, I don't know what she was. But I never, ever used a phone booth again.
Story 7. What he found in the dark.
This happened over 10 years ago, when I was in my first year of high school. Back then, my friends and I would sneak out at night to this abandoned building in the countryside. It used to be a hotel. There were couches still in the lobby, and a few rooms still had beds. We'd bring flashlights, smoke, drink, and hang out in the lobby after dark. One rainy evening, 5 of us were there. After a couple hours, it started drizzling outside. My friend Shiru asked,
"Where can I take a piss?"
Usually we'd go outside to the bushes, but with the rain, he didn't want to. One of us pointed to a door at the back and said,
"That room might have had a bathroom. No water, though."
Shiru shrugged and said,
"Doesn't matter."
He grabbed a flashlight and walked into the room. A moment later, we heard him whisper, sounding kind of pleased.
"There it is."
We figured he found the toilet. But 10 minutes passed. Then 20. And he didn't come back. One of us went to check. He came out pale and said,
"He's not in there."
We all went in. It was just an empty room. No bathroom, no windows, no other doors. You could see the whole place at a glance, nowhere to hide. We searched everywhere, under the table, inside the closet, but Shiru was gone. And he had one of the only 2 flashlights. We were terrified. No one said a word. We just ran. Shiru never came back. His home life was messy, so no one filed a report. He just vanished. And we never went back to that building again. Years later, I met one of the guys from that night. We got coffee, and somehow the topic came up. He told me he eventually heard from an upperclassman why the hotel was abandoned. Too many guests had disappeared. No one ever figured out how. Then he went quiet, staring at the table. I noticed he was sweating, so I asked what was wrong. He hesitated, then finally said,
"You remember when Shiru went into that room and said, 'There it is'?"
"Yeah," I said. "What about it?" He looked up at me, eyes wide, and said,
That wasn't Shiru's voice.
Story 8. The Monkey Dream.
I've always had a strange ability. Sometimes, when I'm dreaming, I know I'm dreaming. And when that happens, I can wake myself up anytime I want. Or at least, I used to think so. That night, I found myself standing alone on a dim, deserted train platform. Out of nowhere, a strangely off-key voice echoed from the station speakers.
"The train is arriving. Get on, and something terrifying will happen."
Weirdest announcement I'd ever heard. A moment later, the train rolled in. Not a real train, but one of those slow, open sightseeing rides you see in amusement parks. The kind with bright paint, striped awnings over each carriage, and a bizarre feature at the front. The locomotive's entire front was shaped like a grinning monkey's head. Huge round eyes, teeth bared in a cartoonish smile. That somehow felt wrong. The more I stared at it, the more that frozen grin seemed to follow me. A few passengers sat inside, their faces pale and sickly. I actually laughed to myself. This is the scary thing. Please. I climbed aboard, taking the third seat from the back. The air was warm and damp, uncomfortably real for a dream.
"Train departing."
The ride lurched forward, leaving the station and plunging into a tunnel lit by dim purple lights. The walls looked exactly like the haunted house rides from my childhood. I was starting to relax until the next announcement.
"Next stop, sashimi."
Before I could figure out what that meant, a blood-curdling scream came from behind me. For small, ragged men with knives had surrounded the man in the last seat. In seconds, they had sliced him apart, arranging his body like a sashimi platter. The stench of raw flesh filled the air. Right behind me sat a long-haired woman, expressionless, as if she didn't even notice. I froze. This was getting too real. By the time I looked back again, the man was gone. Only blood and meat chunks remained. Then another announcement.
Next stop, eye gouging.
Two of the little men appeared with fork-like tools. The woman's face twisted in agony as they tore out her eyes. The smell was unbearable. I crouched forward, trembling. I knew I was next. Still, curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to hear my sentence before waking up.
Next stop, mincing.
Nope, that was enough. I focused everything on waking up. Usually, it worked instantly. But this time, I heard a mechanical worry. The little men were at my knees, setting up some kind of grinding machine. I felt the air pressure from the spinning blades. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Suddenly, silence. I was back in my bed, drenched in sweat, tears running down my face. It was just a dream. Just a dream. For years passed. I'd almost forgotten about it. Until one night.
Next stop, eye gouging.
The exact same scene. Same woman. Same little men. Panic hit me. I tried to wake up, but it was harder this time. Then.
Next stop, mincing.
The worry grew louder. Wake up, wake up. I dug my nails into my skin. And then silence again. I thought I was safe. Until a voice whispered in my ear.
You escaped again. Next time will be your last.
I opened my eyes. I was in my room. But that voice. It wasn't part of the dream. I heard it after I woke up. What should I do now? Since that night, I haven't had that dream again. But when it comes back, what will happen to me? Will I die of a heart attack in this world? And in that world, they'll grind me into minced meat. Liked the story? Hit that like button. Subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. Share it with your friends. And let me know what you think in the comments. More horror is coming your way.